Welcome to You and Your Democracy. It's a short take civics lesson as part of our program, Where Do We Go From Here? I'm Chuck Parkinson. Each episode, we will look at the head and heart of democracy. We will explore the values and the principles that have created our American exceptionalism and examine the structures and institutions that give us the guardrails of our democratic republic. To quote Benjamin Franklin when asked in 1787 after the Constitutional Convention, Doctor, what have we got, a republic or monarchy? To which Franklin responded with a rejoinder at once witty and ominous, a republic if you can keep it. So now let's take a look at what is this great American experiment, and then ask, what do we need to do to keep it? In today's episode, we are discussing why government and what is the role and value of our government. I am pleased to be joined by Dr. John Van Benthuysen, Assistant Professor of Political Science at Black Hills State University. Thanks for joining us today, John.
It's good to be with you, Chuck.
Well, let's just jump right in. Why government?
Well, because individuals are incapable of providing everything that they need to live a good life. The fact is that if individuals want to be able to live a good, healthy, long life, we really do need government because government provides what we call in political science public goods. This includes everything from national defense, public health and education, clean air, water, food, you name it, the list goes on. All of these things are very expensive and beyond the capability of an individual or even a small group of individuals to provide. So we really do need competent government to be able to provide these public goods that we frankly take for granted.
I think that's a very good point. We take a lot of things for granted and only complain when those things don't work for us. We see that at all levels, from federal, state, and down to the local level, that people don't always really care or understand what these particular functions are and how these functions actually work. Just to move on for that, the role, what are some examples that we might give that people, you touched on a little bit about what some of the major functions are, but that people might, not think about every day?
Well, I'll back up one step because any discussion of public goods needs to address taxes. And people don't like taxes, period. And I think this is where the disconnect comes in to not being able to fully appreciate the value of public goods because all of those public goods that I previously listed, from national defense to public education to public health, that's paid for by our taxes, which we understandably don't like giving up our scarce resources, but we do very much like driving over bridges that don't collapse. We do very much enjoy going out to a restaurant and eating food that doesn't poison us. We do very much like not being invaded by a foreign adversary on a Sunday afternoon when we're trying to enjoy being with our families. So uh, I think in order to kind of raise an appreciation for public goods, there needs to be a lot more education on the necessity and utility, frankly, of taxes that pay for them.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. The definition of the word government comes from the Greek word kybernon, which means to pilot a ship. And I think that touches to a degree as you look to expand what government really is and how it functions. It functions as a direct result, especially in our democratic republic, of the people's participation. The people make the decision who's going to be the government, and also how the government should be run through their elected representatives. From that standpoint, we elect a president, we elect a Congress, we elect a governor, all the legislature, all the way down to the local city councils that make those decisions. But it also has to remember, as you touched on, probably the most important, it's our money that's paying for all of these things, and we do have the say about how those things take place. As we look at it from that perspective, and are there some examples that one might give? I don't have a fire department in my backyard. I live in a forested area, And there's a chance that, quite frankly, pine trees burn quite frequently. And
Yes, exactly.
so I don't have the capabilities of doing that. And as great as my neighbors are, we don't have the capabilities of doing that. But we expect, if that spark starts something, that the Rapid City Fire Department, in our case, is going to be right there to help us out.
Well, you're absolutely right. So, one way I think that can help people understand, help Americans understand the value of government and the public goods that it provides is public education. And this goes back to the quote you mentioned from Benjamin Franklin, a republic if you can keep it. Well, it is widely recognized that in a Republican form of government demands a lot of its citizens. It demands a citizenry with the acumen to be able to make good decisions about representatives who are going to do the public's work, represent their interests. And public education is key to this. If you have an uneducated public, they're going to lack those critical skills that allow citizens of a democracy to make good decisions. And so, if we want to keep our republic, we really do need a competent government that provides public goods like public education that allows citizens to develop those skills that are so vital for maintaining a democratic system of government.
Yeah, oftentimes we hear that, on that very point about, we hear from people, well, I didn't vote because I don't know anything about the candidate, or I don't know about where issues, I don't know enough about the issues. But, in this day and age, with all the availability of information that exists, but it goes back to the basic understanding that public education gives to the system. How does it work? Why does it work as it does? And how does it impact you on a daily basis? I think with that grounds of understanding, and it's not just, elementary school and 4 years of high school, and maybe maybe university education, but it's an ongoing continuing education process. And I think that's one of the things that, when you touched on about, how important public education is, government has a role in continuing to provide that educational process through daily activities to the people, because just the way they do things and is very important.
I couldn't agree more. And I agree that it's sometimes daunting for citizens, looking at the big issues that confront American society. How am I qualified to know anything about environmental policy or economic regulation policy? The good news, I think, is that we don't need to be experts in these individual fields. One of the good things that come from public education is learning how to judge character. And that's one thing that I think everyone is capable of doing. And what I think public education is designed to do is to instill the necessary and basic skills for citizens to be able to discern good character from bad character. And if you can get that skill, that is usually enough to place someone in government that can adequately represent the interests of society and not just some narrow parochial interests.
I think that's very important. The experts, having spent my entire adult career in the political world and in government activities working in the Congress, uh, that's exactly right. I had my area of expertise as a professional staffer, but it was very narrow. And I counted on other people who knew about their narrow ever. As I jokingly say, I have a lot of knowledge, but it's only about a half an inch deep on things. But this is an exact case of where to count on the people who know what they're talking about, the people that are looking out for keeping their food safe, those food inspectors that are going in. I wouldn't know, the front from the back going after those sorts of things. But those are the things that are keeping us together. And also the fact of the teamwork that goes together, where those experts get together and provide a field of expertise to help things out.
I agree.
As we go, we're about to time. Last thoughts that you would like to leave with us today?
Uh, well, again, I'd like to quote a political philosopher this time. When I think about, why government, I think about what life is like or what it might be like without government. And Thomas Hobbes had a lot to say about this. Uh, you know, for those who are unfortunate to live in a time of no government, life is more likely to be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short.
That's a good thought to leave us with today. I appreciate those comments, and hopefully the people who are viewing with us and listening to us will take that point away. That's our episode for now. I want to thank Dr. John Van Benthuysen for sharing his expertise and thoughts with us today. And as always, our executive producers, Suzanne Stratford, and the SDPB technical staff for their creativity and hard work on this program. Thank you also to the supporters of South Dakota Public Broadcasting who make this program possible. To view previous episodes in this series, go to sdpb.org/election. If you have comments or suggestions for future episodes, send us a note at programming@sdpb.org. Until our next short take, I'm Chuck Parkinson.